What's the dumbest reason you ever got hurt? My brother had a turtle. He would take it out of its pen from time to time and let it roam the yard. I watched it chomp on some grass. I picked it up and was feeding it grass, amazed at how clean it chopped the grass. So I stuck my finger in its mouth. Turn out it hurts really bad. I didn't want to hurt the guy, so I had to suffer through it until he let go. He pulled his head into his shell so I couldn't pull my finger out. Finally he let go. Long story short, don't stick your fingies where you wouldn't stick your dinghy. I used to have two small parrotlet birds. The one was sweet as pie, the other not so much. When he bit you couldn't move an inch. Dude was so small and light that slightest movement could snap his neck. So yeah, you just had to take it until he let go. Ah, that crap hurts. I once kissed a reflection of myself on the outside of a metal toaster while in use, and seriously burned my lips. Technically my first kiss. Circle birthday cake. I lit the candles on the outside first, burned my wrists, forearms trying to light the candles in the middle. I put on a Tigger costume when I was little and thought I could bounce on his tail, jumped off my dresser and broke my tailbone. I did something slightly similar. I jumped off the top of my bunk bed and tried to swing around a ceiling fan. I blame misinforming children's television, lol. In a bad mood one morning at work, went to take a crap. First wipe, the toilet paper hangs up on the dispenser and won't tear. I mutter, oh, goddammit, and give it a vigorous yank. Of course the toilet paper rips, and I've done it with enough force where I punch myself in the face and give myself a spectacular bloody nose. A few years ago I woke up, went to the bathroom, and was wiping my butt when I pulled my neck. Still not sure how, but it happened. I just felt the pull and had an enormous pain. Went to the doctor, who gave me anti-inflammatory injections and had to use a collar for a weekend. I used to tell people I fall. I had the opposite. During a large BM, my back, which had been aching for days, actually popped and stopped hurting afterwards. I was playing dodgeball in middle school when a ball flew near my leg. You see, it landed about 4 feet away from me, but that didn't stop me from overreacting. My leg kind of spazzed out and I ended up kneeing myself in the face while I had braces on. I cut up the inside of my mouth, swelled up my lips, and lied to the nurse and just said that I got hit by a ball. I have a similar story. We were playing a variation of dodgeball where you lay on the ground when you're hit and someone in your team has to res you. I was getting resed, and so I was getting up just as I saw the ball coming towards me. So I quickly went back down to dodge it. It turns out the ground was a lot closer than I thought. So I bashed the side of my head into the ground pretty hard. When I was like 10 years, I found a box cutter in a drawer and wanted to see how sharp it was. I decided the best way to do that was to cut across the palm of my hand. It was sharp. I don't remember how painful it was, but I remember staring at my hand for a few seconds before the blood started to pour out. I threw a stick into the sea, wanted the stick back and slice my foot open on some oysters, down to bone. Wanted the stick back. This is what happens when you get shellfish. I had never seen a lacrosse ball, didn't realize it was so bouncy and heavy. Threw it at the ground at my feet. It bounced up and hit me right in the nostrils. Blood everywhere and a newfound respect for the bouncy ball of death. Got hit on the head by lacrosse ball, no helmet, when I first started playing, but I have already destroyed all the nerves on my head by my various acts of idiocy over the years, so it didn't hurt that much. Age 3, we were visiting my mum's hometown in England to see relatives when a black wasp or something managed to get in my sock and my mum put the socks on me. It stung me for a good 2 minutes straight, and even though I was so young, I will never forget how painful it was and how guilty my mum felt that she didn't check the sock. I fractured 2 metatarsals in my foot and currently I am in a boot riding an e-scooter. I was walking, just walking, not running, not playing sports, not kicking a rock. Just walking. I was born with glass bones and paper skin. I lie awake at night and wait for my heart attacks to put me to sleep. You probably. I was making caramel by melting sugar in a pan. As it was cooling down, I was wondered if it solidified already, so I poked it with my finger. Second-degree burns are not fun. First thing I learnt in commercial kitchens. Sugar can burn the devil. I broke my kneecap sledding on an inflatable woman. 'Twas college and Meatfrap was a ridiculous individual with exceptionally poor judgment. Meatfrap and his roommates decided to go drunken sledding in the middle of the night and grabbed whatever objects they had lying around that could serve as improvised sleds. This included trays that had been liberated from the dining hall, a Rubbermaid trash can lid, and Bridget, an inflatable companion originally purchased as a gag gift that had become the dorm room mascot. The snow on the hill had been soft during the day, and those sledding pioneers who had come before us had packed it all down and constructed a formidable jump, which by midnight had, along with the rest of the hill, frozen rock solid. Meatfrap climbed atop Bridget, whispered something sweet into her latex ear, and let gravity take over. Let it be known that an inflatable woman makes an extremely fast and surprisingly stable sled. As Meatfrap encountered the jump at an impressive speed, the curvature of his path required an equally impressive centripetal force. The magnitude of this force was, unfortunately, much more than Bridget's delicate Chinese vinyl seams could withstand. She loudly popped and rapidly deflated just as Meatfrap and a now limp Bridget left the lip of the jump and began a parabolic path like a Ruthian home run. Meatfrap, knowing that his flaccid sledding partner would provide no cushioning whatsoever, attempted to maneuver into a position that might minimize the violence of the impending impact, but his efforts were futile. He landed kneecap first, exploding his patella into a multitude of fragments. A most unpleasant feeling. If you aren't some sort of author, the world will lose a good storyteller. Getting ran over by 1,000 pounds of water jugs on a pallet while working a couple years ago. It took my toenail off but didn't break the bone. I'm glad it wasn't too serious. Acted on a call of the void and put my hand into a toaster. I told my parents I fell and the hand landed in the toaster. I don't think they bought it. Playing baseball with some friends. All I did was stand up from the catcher position to throw a guy out at second. Completely ripped my Achilles. Ouch, I hope it healed well. I had this fake blood I was going to use for a Halloween costume. It was basically this little plastic container of red gelatin you were supposed to put in the microwave for 10 seconds and then apply it before it went solid again. Think like candle wax. What happened instead was I took the container out and put it in the palm of my hand. The bottom of the container had melted slightly and it burned my palm. In my shock, I flipped the container up into the air and then tried to catch the scalding hot liquid that splashed everywhere. The skin on my hand immediately began to sag. I don't remember if there were second or third degree burns, but my hand looked freaking rotten for weeks after that. Don't try to catch a liquid, especially when it's basically acid. Ouch, I hope it healed well and without complications. Thank you for sharing. Got involved in a bar fight because a friend of a friend called someone else gay in an argument over the jukebox. Then ended up getting hit with the pool cue they'd taken from the friend. Had to be told later why I'd been suckered and that one of the guys had flashed a pistol. Ended up getting a girlfriend out of it, but then we broke up and she had some other guy's kid. 10 years later we hooked up again. And I married her and now I'm divorced. So really the whole story is just bad from start to end. Edit. Thanks for the awards. My first gold. I'll put them to good use. Good lord, that was quite a roller coaster. An ex-boyfriend of mine tore his hamstring in his sleep. His bed was under the sloped roof and in his sleep he'd hooked his foot behind a beam and then turned over. He'd tell people it was a soccer accident. Oof. I think I've had a couple minor back injuries from sleeping getting up weird. Cut my elbow in a sharp thing in between a bathtub and a windowsill. So sharp I didn't feel it, only noticed when I saw the blood. One of my few scars. Unfinished ceramic edges are sharper than razors. Surgeons sometimes use scalpels made of ceramic instead of steel. If you've still got the bathroom, I'd look into getting that taken care of. I played prisoner and guard with my brother. He was the guard and had my hands tied behind my back and my legs tied with the end of the rope in his hand. When I tried to jump away, he pulled the rope. Boing yank. Thud. I was throwing rubber rings in the deep end of a pool and diving for them. I would normally hold the edge of the pool to use it as a push-off point to get more speed to the bottom. I was too close to the edge when I pushed myself down and essentially cocked my head back and smashed my face on the edge of the pool, breaking my front teeth into pieces. Blood everywhere. I hope you were young enough they were your baby teeth. Not me, but my sister. We were riding our bikes, and she almost fell. She said, "Did you see that? I did this," and proceeded to repeat her almost fall. Actually fall and managed to hurt herself in the leg. Was sitting on the floor hammering a nail into something. Lost grip, then the hammer bounced out of my hand and landed on my dong. Your username should be hammer on my penis. Ooh, here's my time to shine. Yesterday I saw some crumbs on the ground, and instead of sweeping them, I swiped them with my foot, but instead my foot missed the crumbs and I tripped, in which my ankle hit the bottom corner of the cabinet. Hurt like a bee, but it made me laugh, which made it hurt even more. I sprained my ankle by falling down the steps of a school bus. I had to be wheeled past the cafeteria in a wheelchair to get to the nurse's office during lunch. Sneezed so hard that something between my shoulder and neck popped. Couldn't turn my head properly for 2 weeks because of the sharp pain, as if someone stuck a giant needle in there and pushed really hard. When I was like 7, me and my dad were playing football together. When it was my turn to be the goalie, my dad thought that there was no way I'd be able to protect a 7-meter goal by myself, so he kicked it as hard as he could. But being the master goalie that I am, I caught the ball and it twisted my arm around and broke it. What makes it worse is that my parents didn't believe me when I said that it was broken, so I had to ride my bike home for an hour with a broken arm. Yikes. I wanted to jump on my bed like kids seem to do in TV shows. Those TV shows never pointed out how slippery blankets are when you do that, and I ended up headbutting my bedpost and bleeding everywhere. I now have a 2 cm scar above my left eye. Wow, you must have unusually slippery blankets. Haha, usually I can't contribute to these things, but now I can. It was my birthday and we have a balcony that's like 3 meters off the ground. So my smallest friend, who's like made of rubber, jumps off twice and is fine. So I do it and break 3 toes, metatarsals if you want to be fancy. Broke my left arm because I fell off a scooter. Doesn't seem that dumb. Tried to jump off a swing and let go before preparing myself to jump. Dropped like 8 feet and lay there in the dirt completely winded. In high school cooking 1, my group was making some fried potato slices. Well, it was my job to cut the potatoes, so I rip open the bag of potatoes, grab one and put it on the cutting board. As I get up to go grab a knife from the drawer, my friend notices I'm bleed a crap ton. The left side of my left thumb had been cut deeply and was bleeding a lot. The teacher rushed me to the nurses and I was laughing the whole way. I have a super high tolerance for pain, so I never noticed, but the crazy thing is that I didn't even have a knife yet. There was no knife that had ever been taken out, and I ripped open the bag with my hands, not a knife or scissors. I actually cut myself on a potato. I was at a trampoline park in Arkansas and was 3 months before my 14th birthday. I tried to do a backflip into the foam pit and nearly killed myself. My back still hurts now, 6 years later. When I was 5 years old, I was sitting by the kitchen table at my aunt's. I leaned forward to grab some ham from the table and the chair slid out from underneath me, and my forehead hit the corner of the table. I still have a scar on the outside of my eyebrow. I stabbed my finger on a knife at work. No, I didn't stab the knife in my finger. I jammed my finger down on the knife. Took the stitches out today actually. I went to pop the cap off a glass beer bottle on a tabletop. Instead of the cap popping off, the top of the bottle shattered and my hand gripping the bottle got filled with some glass shards. Hadn't even started drinking yet, SMH. My older sister left her mask at home. She works with children, so she desperately needs it. Anyway, she called me and asked me to get it. So I ran out of bed and scraped my second to last toe on my wardrobe, pulling back the skin. I then almost broke my TV and injured my hand. I ended up limping downstairs and with a damaged toe. I hope she appreciated it. My friend sat on me on a zipline. We didn't realize how gravity works and my leg got dragged across the floor. I have a scar on my knee which is very annoying to explain. I was in a bunk bed that was shorter than me. I stretched in the morning. There was a crack in my neck and next thing I knew was agony. The pain didn't fully go away for 3 days. Rushing to grab tool out of toolbox, hit my head on either the dust shield or lower control arm of a side-by-side ATV we had up on the hoist at work. Ow. I hope there was no concussion. Midway through lockdown, I kept getting pains in my head and neck, only got worse when I was doing quite specific things. Went to bed thinking I'd sleep it off, woke up unable to move my head at all. I really panicked, was worried I had an aneurysm or something. Phoned my GP, and after a lengthy conversation with her, she told me I'd been jerking off too much, and pulled some muscles in my neck and shoulder. There are so many though, how do I pick just one? One time when I was much younger I was riding my bike and decided to take both hands off the handlebars. I'd mastered being able to ride like that, but didn't notice a small stick in the road, which I of course hit with my front wheel. I lost balance, grabbed for my handlebars, and ran into my mom's parked car. My fist went through one of the taillights and I cut it up pretty bad. When I was around 20 and far too confident in my ability to function after an all-nighter, I stayed up all night and then went on a 2-hour drive to visit family, alone. Predictably, despite drinking far too much coffee, I fell asleep, swerved off the road, and hit a tree. Fractured a bone in the same hand I injured in the bicycle crash above, as well as a bunch of other injuries and a month or two spent in the hospital. This was the worst injury, but I don't know if it's the dumbest reason. Many years ago I climbed a tree at a Boy Scout summer camp while I was wearing a compass on a string around my neck. I fell out of the tree, the string caught, and it gave me a nasty welt across my neck before it broke. The mark remained for the rest of my time at the camp and you can just imagine the nicknames that earned me. Went to sleep, woke up unable to move my neck or head, pinched a nerve in my neck in my sleep. Terrifying to wake up and not be able to move as you did when you went to bed. Setting up one of those home media centers years ago was putting all the plugs in it, put the other end of one of the plugs, whose end was already in the electrical outlet, into my mouth so I could check the manual. Blue halo of light encompassed my head. There was a definitely hump sound of electricity. It blew me back on my bed. Now I'm only qualified to go to the University of Phoenix. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.